Jill, are we headed for a recession, and what does this news mean for investors and consumers?
The U.S. economy is the strongest of a slowing global economy, so it's not in a bad place, but the direction of travel is the wrong way.
If we go into a recession next year, it's not going to be a surprise.
I don't see a recession. I mean, the world is in a recession right now.
When we enter the next recession, our debt relative to the economy will be twice as high as when the recession of 2008 hit.
I expect we're going to see a very robust finish of the year. And as I said, no signs of a recession.
Sounds a little bit confusing, doesn't it? And it's no wonder why you're confused. So is everybody else. So you just saw that some people think we're going to have a recession. Some people don't. And even companies like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, they can't agree on whether there's a recession coming or there isn't. And so let's back up and define what a recession really is. By definition, it is 2 consecutive quarters where GDP is declining. Simply put, 6 months of an economic slowdown. Okay, so now that you know that, here's what I want you to do, because I'm a big proponent of looking at the data and making decisions that are fact-based and data-driven rather than driven off emotions. And so when most people hear the word recession now, they automatically think about what happened in 2008. But I want to take you back and let's see what happened over the last 5 recessions that we've had in the country. So as you see on the graph, back in 1980, we had the energy crisis and inflation was hovering around 19%. Keep in mind that typically it's around 2%. So that's really high. That's almost 5 times or almost 10 times as high. In 1981, the energy crisis still continued, but there was a regime change that happened in Iran. And because of that, it affected oil pricing. And what happened is the Fed tightened the monetary policy to try to curtail that inflation. Then in 1991, we had the Gulf War. Iraq invaded Kuwait. United Airlines, they had a buyout, and that really triggered a stock market crash. And then in 2001, what happened? The dot-com bust. We had the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and then there were some accounting scandals that happened at some of the largest U.S. companies. The stock market at that time took a 25% nosedive. Then in 2008, we saw something unprecedented. The housing market and the mortgage meltdown really were the cause of the last recession. Okay, so now you see out of the last 5 recessions, only one of them was caused by the housing and the mortgage meltdown. Really unprecedented. And there's something called I'm gonna probably botch this up. It's called the Mortgage Bankers Credibility Index. And it's an index which is baseline at 100. 100 means that everything is normal. Below 100 means that it's tougher to get a mortgage. Anything above 100 means that it's easier to get a mortgage. Prior to the crash of 2008, that index was at 900, which essentially meant that you can walk into the bank and just say, my name is John Doe, and they would hand you money. No wonder the market crashed. So again, let's kind of look at this empirically and what happened. So you had people that were coming in, getting mortgages that they really couldn't afford. Couple that with you had people that were getting adjustable rate mortgages when the interest rates were low. When the interest rates shot up, those mortgage payments sometimes doubled or tripled. And if they were already in a situation where they couldn't afford the house, now they're really in trouble. Okay. Additionally, people were using their homes like ATM machines. So they were going in, taking out equity and using it to purchase non-appreciating assets. So they were buying cars and clothes and going on fancy vacations. When the financial crisis hit, those people found themselves underwater. And what happened? We know what happened in 2008. Many people lost homes. Foreclosures were on the rise. Short sales were on the rise. And it just was a snowball that just didn't seem like it was going to stop until the government really intervened and helped curtail all of that stuff that happened. Here's the whole point. When you hear the word recession now, I don't want you to think about 2008 because, again, as I said, that was really an unprecedented time. I want you to think more about 2001. And here's why. The economists are predicting that the next causes of recession are going to be a stock market correction, trade war, and geopolitical events. Those three. Housing on their list was down at number 9. So while there may be an effect on housing from the recession, housing will not cause the recession. In fact, we're going to see prices to continue to increase over the next several years. 4%, I believe, 2%, and then 2.5%, somewhere around there over the next 3 years. So if you are waiting to jump into the real estate market as a buyer, or you are waiting to sell until the recession is over, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table as a seller, and you're going to pay more money as a buyer. I always tell folks, the best time to purchase real estate, whenever you can afford it, okay? So now I've given you some information. I know it was a lot of information, but my whole point is to arm you with all of this great detail so that you can make a clear, rational, and informed decision and not just run around like Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and you base your decisions on emotion or things that are not really rational. Now, while we can't predict it with 100% certainty, we can kind of understand that we're probably due for a recession because we are in the longest stretch of economic expansion that we've ever seen in the country. And at some point, you got to believe that that's going to slow down. And slow down could equal recession, all right? So again, I'm Dietric Williams. I know this was a lot of info again, but again, it's all about being informed. Information on the go, info on the go. That's why we do this show, right? Okay, so if you like this, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you share this information with somebody else out there. And if you have questions, by all means, reach out and give me a call, email, text, passenger pigeon, whatever your form of communication is. I'll make sure to get back with you. All right. So again, I'm Dietric Williams, the Navigator, here to bring you from where you are to where you want to be. And I will see you next time.